Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to jump into a story about two friends. It seems pretty simple on the outside, but it asks a really big question. What does it actually mean to be a true friend? So before we really get into it, I want you to do something for me. Just for a second, picture your best friend in your mind. Got 'em? Okay, now what are some of the things you do for them? The little things that show you care. Maybe you share your favorite snack, or help them out with a tricky math problem, or maybe you just listen when they're having a tough day. Just hold on to those thoughts, because they're going to be important as we meet the star of our story.
All right, let's meet our main character. His name is Hans. And Hans is a really, really kind guy. He has this one big idea about what it means to be a good friend. For him, it's all about working hard and helping your friends out, no matter what. So Hans' best friend is a man called the Miller. And every single day, like clockwork, Hans goes over to the Miller's garden to lend a hand. And we're not talking about easy stuff here. Oh no. He's lugging around heavy tools, carrying these huge watering cans, all to help make his friend's garden look amazing. And let me tell you, this work could get super tiring. I mean, really exhausting. But whenever Hans started to feel worn out, he'd just tell himself these words. He really truly believed that doing all this hard work was the absolute best way to prove he was a good, loyal friend. It's like that was his whole definition of friendship. But then, one day came along that really put this friendship to the test. It was a tough, tough day, and it made Hans start to, wonder if things were really what they seemed. So picture this. It's one of those mornings where it's just cold and raining, and it's not stopping. But did that stop Hans? Nope, not a chance. He showed up at the garden totally ready to work, even with his clothes completely soaked and his shoes all covered in mud. I mean, that's some serious dedication, right? So he sees the Miller and he's like, "Hey, I'm out here planting those new flowers you wanted," pointing out that he's getting it done even with all this rain coming down. Now, what do you think the Miller said? Maybe a, "Wow, thanks, Hans," or, "Gosh, you must be freezing." Nope. The Miller just looks at him and says, "You need to work faster. You're being too careful, and that's why the flowers are growing so slowly." Wow. He didn't seem to care one bit that his friend was out there working so hard in the cold rain. Can you just imagine that for a second? Hans is literally shivering. He's so cold and wet. But his first thought isn't even about himself. His first thought is, you know what? He's right. I've got to do better. I have to try even harder for him. So the day just keeps going, and there's no break, no time to rest. Hans just keeps working and working, and all that cold and all that hard work, it's really starting to get to him. He's totally exhausted, and everything starts to hurt. Finally, Hans just can't keep going. He has to ask for a little rest. And he's so polite about it, too. He just says, "Sir, could I maybe rest for just a little bit? My back really hurts from carrying water all morning." I mean, that sounds totally fair, doesn't it? Okay, so this is where things get really clear. What would a true friend say? Something like, "Of course, go rest. Your health is way more important, right?" But what did the Miller say? He just said rest? No, Hans, keep working. It's like the flowers were more important to him than his actual friend. And you won't believe it, but what did Hans do? He kept on working the entire afternoon. He just pushed right through the pain in his hands, the cold from his wet clothes, all of it. And why? Because deep down, he still just wanted to be a good and loyal friend. That's all he wanted. Okay, so fast forward to that evening. The long, awful day is finally over and Hans is by himself. And boy, does he have a lot to think about. Just imagine it. Hans is sitting by a river. It's quiet. The work is done. And now he can finally think about the day. He's replaying everything in his head. The rain, how much his body hurt, and what the Miller said to him. And right there, in that quiet moment, this one big, important question pops into his head. For the very first time, he starts to wonder, does my friend, the Miller, does he actually care about me? Or does he just care about the work I do for him? But then, this story ends in a really interesting way. After thinking about this huge, serious question, Hans smiles. The story doesn't say why. So we're left wondering, did he smile because he finally realized what was going on? Or maybe because he decided he was going to do something different from now on? What do you think? And that brings us all the way back to the question I asked you at the beginning. Hans's story shows us one way to be a friend, but was it a real friendship? Is being a friend all about the things you do for someone, or is it more about how you care for each other and how you make each other feel? There isn't one right answer for everyone, but it's a really good question to think about when it comes to our own friendships. Thanks so much for joining me.